My father smirked. The whole family went last week after I asked about the $15,000 trip I paid F. The first time I saw the charge clear, it didn't feel like excitement. It felt like responsibility. On May 2nd, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and my phone plugged in, refreshing my banking app until the pending transaction finally posted.
$15,000.00.
The number looked too clean, too final, like it wanted me to admire it. I didn't. I clicked into the receipt, downloaded the PDF, and saved it in a folder named Family Trip 22-6. I'd learned to label things plainly around my family. Anything that sounded emotional became an invitation for commentary. The trip had been my father's idea, technically. He'd brought it up at Sunday dinner in March, leaning back in my aunt's dining chair like he owned it, his glass of iced tea sweating onto the coaster. "We should all do something big," he'd said. "One real family vacation, not these little weekends. Something we'll remember." My cousins had cheered. My uncles nodded. My mother, quiet, careful, looked down at her plate. Then my father's eyes slid to me. It always happened like that, as if the room was a stage and he knew where the light was best. "And you," he'd said, smiling like he was proud. "You've been doing well. You could make it happen." He didn't ask. He didn't say please. He placed it on me like a compliment. Everyone watched my face for a reaction. That was the family sport. Not cards, not charades. Reactions. I didn't give them one. "I can look at options," I said. Calm, neutral. The same tone I used at work when someone wanted an impossible deadline. My father's smile widened. The kind of smile that wasn't warmth, just teeth. "See," he said to the table. "That's what I mean. Responsible." I was 32. I worked in compliance for a mid-sized financial firm. My days were spent reading policy language, reconciling numbers, and tracking small inconsistencies that could become big ones. It trained a certain part of your brain to stay quiet when other people got loud. It also trained you not to trust vague promises. That's why when I agreed to look at options, I did it the way I do everything. I created a paper trail. I started with a shared Google Doc titled Family Vacation Planning and invited everyone. I listed possible dates, possible locations, approximate costs. I asked people to confirm availability by March 20th. Only 3 people responded: my cousin Talia, my Aunt Gina, and my mother. The rest texted my father instead. That was always the pattern. If there was structure, they went around it. If there were rules, they treated them like suggestions. Then later, when something went wrong, they acted like it was my system that failed. My father called me on March 18th. "I don't know why you're making this so complicated," he said. "I'm making it clear," I replied. He made a noise like I was being difficult on purpose. "Just book it. We'll figure the details out. You're good at this kind of thing." That phrase, "you're good at this kind of thing," was how my family disguised taking from me, as if competence meant obligation. I didn't argue. Arguing gave him energy. "Send me the final headcount and everyone's legal names for flights," I said. He laughed. "Legal names. Who are you? The airport?" "Airlines require them," I said. Okay. His voice softened a little, the way it did when he wanted to be seen as reasonable. "I'll get it to you." He didn't. He sent me a list 2 days later with only first names, half of them spelled differently than I knew them, and one person added at the end, "Dad's friend Ron." I stared at that for a few seconds. Then I opened a new email draft addressed to my father, copied everyone else on it, including my mother. Subject line: "Trip details needed," I wrote. "Hi. I need full legal names, dates of birth, and passport info by March 25th to proceed. Please confirm that the attached itinerary is approved. If I don't receive confirmation, I will not book." I attached a neat PDF itinerary, flights, hotel, and a breakdown of costs by category. It wasn't an ultimatum. It was a boundary. There's a difference. Within an hour, my father replied with a single line: "Approved. Stop being dramatic." I didn't answer that part. I responded only with, "Thanks. Booking now." And I did. Over the next week, I got passport photos texted to me in bad lighting, birth dates sent with question marks and last names spelled like guesses. Each time I asked for confirmation, my father made it sound like I was nagging him. "This is why you stress yourself out," he said on another call. "You act like we're strangers." It wasn't stress, it was procedure. On April 1st, I emailed the final confirmation. I listed every person, I listed every flight number, I listed check-in and check-out dates. I included a line: "Please verify your details. Any errors must be reported within 48 hours. No one verified anything." Of course they didn't, but the trip was set. I put it on my card because the airline pricing locked better that way, and because my father insisted it was easier to settle up later. I didn't expect to be paid back fully. I'm not naive. I'd made peace with that when I clicked purchase. What I did expect was basic respect. On May 5th, my Aunt Gina called and said, "I heard you're taking us to Mexico." Her tone was bright, almost playful. "It's a family trip," I said. "You're an angel," she said. "Your father said you wanted to do something nice for us." I held the phone a little farther from my ear. "I wanted to do it together," I corrected. "Everyone agreed to split costs." There was a pause long enough for me to hear her swallow. "Oh," she said, and the brightness shifted into something tighter. "Well, your father said you'd cover it and we'd just pay you back when we could." I didn't argue with her either. "I sent the breakdown in the email," I said. "Let me know if you didn't receive it." She laughed like I'd told a joke. "Honey, I don't check emails like that." I looked at the calendar on my fridge. The trip was scheduled for June 12th to June 19th, a little over a month away. "Okay," I said. "I'll resend it." When I hung up, I forwarded the email thread again, everyone included, and added a simple line: "Resending for visibility." My father didn't respond. Instead, he texted me privately, "Stop embarrassing people. This is family." I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Then I typed back, "I'm not embarrassing anyone. I'm organizing," he replied with a thumbs-up emoji. That was my father. When he couldn't win on logic, he switched to performance. Short replies, smirks in person. A tone that implied I was the one with the problem. At the next Sunday dinner, he did it in front of everyone. "So," he said, leaning back again, "our little travel agent has us all set." People laughed. Someone clinked a glass. I smiled politely, the way you do when a client makes the same joke 3 times. My father looked pleased with himself. He always liked the moment where the room joined him. "What's the plan for activities?" my cousin asked. "I already sent options," I said. "If you want excursions, let me know by—" "See?" my father cut in, shaking his head. "This is what I'm saying. She turns everything into a schedule." He said it like I was defective. I let the comment sit there. No defense. No heat. The table's laughter died down, but the dynamic stayed. Him above. Me as the punchline. Then my Uncle Mark said, "I mean, it's her money. She can schedule it how she wants." My father's smile didn't move, but something in his eyes did. "It's not her money," he said lightly. "It's our family investment." That sentence was casual. It landed like it belonged. My stomach didn't tighten. My voice didn't change. I just nodded once and took a sip of water. Because in that moment, I realized something simple. My father was already telling a story about the trip, and I wasn't in control of it. After dinner, as I helped my mother clear plates, my father walked behind me and said quietly, close enough that only I could hear. "Relax," he murmured. "You'll get your little thank you." I didn't look at him. "What does that mean?" I asked, still calm. He let out a soft laugh, almost affectionate, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye. A smirk, not big, not obvious, but deliberate. "You'll see," he said. Then he walked away, leaving me standing at the sink with my hands in warm water and my mind suddenly very still. That night, at home, I opened the folder on my laptop again. Family Trip, 2026. I created 2 new subfolders beneath it, Receipts Communications. Then I started saving everything.
Not because I wanted a fight, because I could feel one coming.
And I was done walking into situations unprepared. I went to bed early, set my phone face down, and let the house go quiet. My father's smirk stayed with me longer than it should have, not because it hurt.
Because it didn't belong to someone who believed I'd been generous. It belonged to someone who believed he'd won something.
And I hadn't even asked the real question yet. The next morning, as I poured coffee, my phone buzzed with a notification, a group chat my cousin had created. The name of the chat made my hand pause mid-air. Vacay countdown! And beneath it, my father had posted the first message. A photo, not of an itinerary, not of a thank you. A photo of plane tickets already issued, dated last week. I stared at the timestamp, then at the date printed on the tickets, and my coffee went cold before I took a sip. I didn't type a word. I just opened my laptop, created a new document titled Timeline, and started writing down dates, because now I knew what my father's smirk meant, and I was going to let him keep smiling right up until he couldn't anymore. I didn't respond to the group chat, not immediately. I opened the photo my father had posted and zoomed in until the pixels blurred. The airline logo was clear. The confirmation code was visible. So was the date, May 27th. The destination matched the trip I had booked for June. Different week, same route. I saved the image. Then I checked the metadata. Screenshot. Android. Sent at 8:14 a.m. My father was an early riser when he wanted attention. I closed the chat without typing anything and opened my email. I searched the airline name, then the credit card statements, then my sent messages. Nothing about May 27th, which meant one of two things. Either he'd paid for a separate trip himself, or he'd moved people around using my booking. I didn't assume. I verified. At 9:02 a.m., I called the airline. I used my calm voice, the one that didn't rush, the one that made people think I already knew the answer. I need to confirm something about an existing reservation, I said. I'm the primary cardholder. They asked for the confirmation number. I gave them the one from my receipt. There was a pause. Keyboard sounds. Yes, the agent said. I see the reservation. 8 passengers. Originally scheduled June 12th. Originally. Is there a record of changes? I asked. Yes, she said. It looks like the departure date was modified on May 19th. My pen hovered over my notebook. By whom? I asked. The authorized traveler, she said. Name on the account is... She said my father's name. I wrote it down. May 19th. Authorized traveler, father. And what about the return? I asked. That was modified as well. Same date, I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Were there any fees? I asked. Yes, she said. Change fees and fare differences. Those were charged to the card on file. I closed my eyes for a second. How much? I asked. $2,347.18. I thanked her and hung up. Then I opened my banking app. There it was. A charge from May 19th I'd seen, but hadn't questioned yet because it had been pending at the time and labeled vaguely. It had posted overnight. I added it to the folder. Then I pulled up the hotel reservation. The same process, same result. Modified dates, same person. He hadn't booked a separate trip. He'd taken the trip I paid for and moved it earlier. For them, not for me. I scrolled back to the group chat. More messages had come in while I was on the phone. Photos now. Airport selfies. Drinks in plastic cups. Someone had tagged a location sticker. Cancun International Airport. My father hadn't tagged me. He hadn't mentioned my name once. The caption under one photo read, "Family trip finally happening." I didn't feel angry. That surprised me. What I felt was something cleaner, clarity. I opened the Google Doc again, the one titled Family Vacation Planning. I checked the edit history. On May 18th, my father had opened the document. On May 19th, he'd removed my name from the header where it said Organizer. I hadn't noticed because I hadn't looked. I took screenshots, time-stamped. Then I opened my email and searched for anything from him between May 15th and May 20th. Nothing. He'd done it quietly, confidently, like someone who didn't expect to be questioned. That afternoon, my mother called. I let it ring twice before answering. "Did you know they left already?" she asked. "Yes," I said. Her breath caught. I didn't realize it was changed. "Your father said you couldn't get time off work and told us to go ahead." "I didn't say that," I replied. "I know," she said quickly. "I know. He said you'd explain later." I didn't correct her. I didn't vent. "Are you there with them?" I asked. No, she said. I stayed back. I pictured her in the house alone, the quiet after everyone leaves. The way my father always framed her absence as her choice. Did he ask you before changing the dates? I asked. No, she said. He told me after.
I wrote that down too. Witness, mother.
Informed after change. That night, I cooked for myself and ate slowly. I didn't check social media. I didn't open the group chat again. Instead, I built a timeline. March 12th, trip proposed. March 18th, approved via email. April 1st, final itinerary sent. May 18th, Google Doc accessed. May 19th, flights and hotel changed. Charges incurred. May 27th, family departs without me. I attached proof to each line. Then I waited. They came back on June 3rd. The group chat woke up again that afternoon. Photos from the beach. A final dinner shot. Someone posted, "Best week ever." My father sent a message, "Thanks to everyone who made this happen." Still no name. I didn't respond then either. 2 days later, he called me. "Why didn't you come?" he asked, like it was a casual check-in. "You changed the dates," I said. He laughed. "We adjusted them. You're always busy." "You didn't tell me," I said. "You knew," he replied. "You just didn't want to make time." I let the silence stretch. "I paid for that trip," I said. "You paid for the booking," he corrected. "It was for the family. Then why was I removed?" I asked. Another laugh, shorter this time. "Removed from what?" "The trip," I said. "The dates were changed without my consent. Fees were charged to my card." "You're being dramatic," he said again. The same phrase, reliable. "You'll get your money back." "When?" I asked. "I called the hotel. The manager confirmed it." "Your name was removed," she said. Another guest was added. The request came from the same email address we had on file. I asked for the email address. She gave it to me. It wasn't my father's personal email. It was his work email, the one tied to his company. The one listed publicly on his professional website. I asked if she could send written confirmation. She said yes. When the email arrived, I read it twice. Then I read it a third time, because that was the key receipt. Not just proof that he'd taken the trip, proof that he'd represented himself as authorized to modify and reassign a paid reservation that wasn't his, using his professional identity. I saved the email. Then I checked the calendar. His birthday barbecue was in 2 weeks, and for the first time since March, I allowed myself a small, private smile. Not because I was planning revenge, but because I finally knew exactly where the truth belonged and who was going to hear it. The invitation arrived the way it always did, a group text sent by my father 3 weeks before his birthday. BBQ at my place, July 14th. Family, friends, neighbors. Come hungry. There was a photo attached of his backyard from the year before. White tent, folding tables, strings of lights, a microphone stand near the deck. He loved the microphone, I replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Nothing else. In the days that followed, he became unusually friendly. He called twice that week, left one voicemail when I didn't answer. "Just checking in," he said, voice warm. "Haven't really talked since the trip. Hope you're not still hung up on that." I didn't call back. Instead, I prepared. I didn't rehearse speeches. I didn't imagine confrontations. I did what I always did when something mattered. I organized information. I printed everything. Bank statements showing the original $15,000 charge. $2,347. 18 in change fees. Airline confirmation with modification timestamps. Hotel email confirming my removal and his substitution. The Google Doc edit history. Screenshots from the group chat and social media posts. My email requesting reimbursement. His silence. I placed them in a thin folder. No labels on the outside. Then I made copies. One set stayed at home, one went into my bag. One I scanned and uploaded to a private cloud folder with a neutral name, Travel Records Q2. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not my mother, not my aunt, not a friend. I wasn't building momentum. I was waiting for gravity the week before the barbecue. My father posted online, a long caption this time. Grateful for family, health, and the ability to create memories. This year reminded me how important it is to take care of your people. The photo was from the trip. Sunset, drinks raised, everyone smiling, the comments filled quickly. Best dad ever. So generous. You deserve it. I didn't engage. On July 14th, I arrived at his house at 3:07 p.m., early enough to help, but not early enough to be alone with him. The backyard was already busy. My cousins were arranging food. My aunt was setting out plates. A few of my father's colleagues stood near the grill, beers in hand. He saw me as I walked in and smiled wide.
There she is,
he announced, loud enough for the people around him to hear.
the busiest woman I know.
I hugged him lightly, polite, brief. Happy birthday, I said. He patted my shoulder. Glad you made time. I didn't correct him. My mother came over and squeezed my hand. Her eyes searched my face for something. I gave her a small nod. I placed my bag under a chair near the edge of the tent. Close enough. Not obvious. For the first hour, nothing happened. People ate, laughed, told stories. My father moved from group to group like a host who believed this was his natural role in the world. Every so often, someone would mention the trip. Cancun looked amazing. I still can't believe you pulled that off. You really spoiled them. Each time, my father accepted the praise easily, like it belonged to him. You're good with money. He didn't look at me when they said it. At 4:46 p.m., he tapped the microphone. The sound cut through the chatter. Conversations quieted. He raised his glass. I just want to say a few words, he said. People smiled. Phones came out. This past year has been a reminder of how important family is, he continued. How important it is to show up for each other. To provide. To lead. He paused. Let the words settle. I'm proud of what we've built, he said, and I'm proud of the example I set for my kids. A few people clapped. I didn't move, he went on, talking about hard work, about sacrifice, about being the kind of person others could rely on. Then he laughed lightly. And yes, apparently, I'm also a travel agent now. Laughter. More phones raised. That trip was something special, he said. A chance for all of us to reconnect, and I'm glad I could make it happen. That was the moment. Not dramatic, not loud, just incorrect. I stood up. I didn't rush. I didn't interrupt. I waited until he finished his sentence and the applause began. Then I raised my hand slightly. Can I add something? I asked. My voice carried without effort. Calm. Clear? The clapping slowed. People turned. My father looked surprised, then amused. Of course, he said. Come on up. He stepped aside, handing me the microphone like it was a favor. I took it, but I didn't step onto the deck. I stayed where I was, under the tent, on the same level as everyone else. I wasn't planning to speak, I said, but since the trip was mentioned, I want to clarify something. My father's smile tightened, almost imperceptibly. I booked and paid for that trip, I said. On March 18th,
The full amount.
a murmur rippled through the crowd. I was removed from the reservation on May 19th without my knowledge, I continued. The dates were changed, fees were charged to my card, and another guest was substituted for me. My father laughed too loudly. Okay, he said, reaching for the microphone. That's enough. I stepped back half a pace, keeping the microphone out of his reach. I have documentation, I said. If anyone wants to see it. Silence settled. Heavy now. My father's face changed. The smirk was gone. This isn't the time, he said. His voice dropped. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm stating facts, I replied. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't look at him. Instead, I looked at the people in front of me. The airline confirmed the modifications, I said. The hotel confirmed my removal at check-in. The charges are on my statement. The emails are time-stamped. Someone near the front shifted uncomfortably. My father stepped closer. You need to stop, he said low. We'll talk later. I met his eyes then. Just once. You've had time, I said. He opened his mouth. I continued. I didn't dispute the charges. I didn't post about it. I didn't correct anyone online. I waited. I reached down and opened my bag. I pulled out the folder. I'm not asking for praise, I said. I'm asking for accountability. My father's colleagues were watching now. One of them frowned, recognizing the work email mentioned. "This isn't appropriate," my father said louder. "This is a family matter," I nodded. "That's why I kept it private," I said, until it became public. I'd placed the folder on the table in front of me. "I'm happy to share this with anyone who has questions," I said. "Or with the credit card company. Or with the airline." The microphone felt heavy in my hand. I set it down gently on the table. "I just wanted the truth to be clear," I said. Then I stepped back. No shouting, no insults, just space. The crowd didn't clap this time. They stared. My father stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing, like he was searching for a version of himself that still worked in this moment. Someone cleared their throat, another person whispered. I picked up my bag. As I walked toward the gate, my father called my name. I didn't turn around. Behind me, the party didn't resume, and I knew, without needing to look, that the story he'd been telling about himself had just lost its audience. Because once facts are introduced, performance has a very short lifespan, and this one was already ending. I didn't leave immediately. I stopped just outside the gate and stood on the sidewalk long enough to hear what happened when I wasn't there. At first, nothing. The quiet stretched. Someone tried to restart the music. It cut out halfway through a song. Chairs scraped. A few people laughed too loudly, like laughter could patch the air. Then voices rose. Not shouting. Questions. I heard my aunt say my name. I heard someone else say, "Is that true?" I heard my father say, "This is being blown out of proportion." I walked to my car and drove home.
I didn't block anyone. I didn't post anything.
I didn't send follow-up messages. I let the silence do what it does best. By 9:12 p.m., my phone started lighting up. A cousin first. Then an uncle. Then a number I didn't recognize. One of my father's colleagues. I didn't answer any of them. I poured a glass of water and sat at my kitchen table, the same one where I'd watched the $15,000 charge clear weeks earlier. I opened my laptop and checked the cloud folder. Everything was there. Nothing had changed. At 9:47 p.m., my mother called. I answered. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said immediately. Her voice was steady in a way it rarely was with him. "I just want you to know that." "I know," I said. "He's upset," she added. "I expected that," I replied. There was a pause. "Then," she said, "he didn't think you'd say anything. He thought you'd let it go." "I did," I said, "until it became something else."
She exhaled. People are asking questions.
I figured they would. She didn't ask me to fix it. She didn't ask me to apologize. For the first time in a long time, she didn't manage him for me. The next morning, I woke up to an email from my credit card company. Subject: Dispute Status Update. I hadn't filed one yet, but the system had flagged the charges after repeated logins and documentation uploads. The email said they were opening a preliminary review and would contact the merchant. I forwarded it to my father. One line, "FYI, let me know how you want to resolve this." He replied within 5 minutes. "Why would you do this?" I didn't answer. At 10:23 a.m., he called. I let it go to voicemail. "You've gone too far," he said, his voice sharper than usual. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone. This didn't need to be public." I saved the voicemail. At 11:02 a.m., another email came in, this one from the airline. They were requesting confirmation regarding unauthorized changes made to a reservation tied to my card. I replied with the documentation. At 1:18 p.m., my father emailed again. "We can talk like adults. I'll pay you back. Just stop this." I read it twice. Then I replied, "Please send reimbursement by Friday. Full amount. Otherwise, I'll let the review continue."
No emotion, no commentary.
Just terms. Friday came. No payment. Saturday morning, I received a call from a number with a local area code. I answered. It was one of my father's colleagues, the one who'd frowned at the barbecue. "I hope this isn't inappropriate," he said, "but your name came up at work." I waited. "There were some questions," he continued, "about the email address used to authorize changes on a personal transaction. It's not a good look." "I understand," I said. "I just wanted you to know," he said. You handled yourself well. I thanked him and hung up. That afternoon, my Aunt Gina texted, I didn't realize what he did, she wrote. He told us you offered to switch dates. I replied with a screenshot of my March email and the modification timestamp. She didn't respond after that. By Monday, the story had corrected itself, not because I pushed it, because facts move faster than excuses once they're loose. The credit card company finalized their decision on July 24th. They credited the full amount back to my account pending merchant recovery. The airline followed, 2 days later, confirming the changes had violated their authorization policy. They would pursue it internally. I forwarded both emails to my father. He didn't reply. 3 weeks passed without contact. No calls, no texts, no passive-aggressive check-ins. The quiet felt different this time. Not tense, settled. When we finally spoke again, it was because I reached out. I invited him to meet me at a coffee shop halfway between our houses, neutral ground. Public, mid-morning. He arrived late. He looked older, tired in a way he usually hid behind charm. We sat across from each other. No hugs. I didn't think you'd do that, he said. I know, I replied. You could have talked to me, he said. I did, I said, in writing more than once. He looked away. They didn't need to know, he muttered. They already did, I said. You told them.
They didn't deny it.
There was a long pause.
I paid you back, he said finally. You got your money.
Yes, I said. So what now? He asked. I thought about that for a moment. Now, I said. I don't fund things I'm not included in. I don't manage plans I don't control, and I don't stay quiet when my name is used to build a story that isn't true, he scoffed softly. You always have to make it about principles. I met his eyes. No, I said. I made it about boundaries. He didn't argue with that. He couldn't. We finished our coffee in silence. When I stood to leave, he said, You didn't have to humiliate me. I paused. I didn't humiliate you, I said. I stopped protecting you. That was the last conversation we had that year. Things changed after that. Not dramatically, not overnight, but subtly. I stopped being volunteered. My name stopped being used as shorthand for resources. Invitations came with details, or not at all. At family gatherings, my father was quieter, still charming, still confident. But more careful. He didn't joke at my expense anymore. He didn't need to. Everyone had already learned where the line was. As for me, I kept the folder. Not out of spite. Out of habit, some lessons don't need repeating, and some silence isn't submission. Sometimes it's just patience, waiting for the moment when the truth doesn't need volume to be heard. I didn't win anything. I didn't get an apology. What I got was something better, my name back. Soon, he said. Don't nickel and dime, family. I didn't argue! I didn't raise my voice. Okay, I said. He sounded relieved. Good. I knew you'd understand. That evening, I sent one email. Subject, trip charges. I wrote, Hi. Please reimburse the $17,347.18 charged to my card by June 15th. Breakdown attached. Thank you. I attached the receipts. I copied my mother. I didn't copy anyone else. He didn't reply. June 15th passed. On June 16th, my Aunt Gina texted me. Your dad says you're upset about the trip. We didn't know you wanted to go. I stared at the message. Then I replied, I did want to go. I booked it. The dates were changed without my knowledge. She sent a laughing emoji. Well, it all worked out. We'll do something else with you. I saved the message. On June 20th, my cousin posted a reel with clips from the vacation. The caption read, Couldn't have done this without Dad. I saved that too. I didn't post. I didn't comment. I didn't correct anyone publicly. I waited, because my father had a pattern. He liked to celebrate himself in front of an audience, and I knew exactly when the next one was coming. Every year in July, he hosted a big family barbecue for his birthday. Extended relatives, friends, neighbors, a rented tent in the backyard, speeches, toasts. This year, the invitation came with a twist. A text from him, sent to the family group chat. This year, I want to say a few words. It's been a big year. I stared at that message longer than the others. Then I opened my folder and checked what I had. Emails, screenshots, statements, witnesses. Enough for a conversation, not enough for what he was about to give me. On June 28th, I got a notification from my credit card company. Dispute eligibility period ending soon. I clicked into it and saw something I hadn't noticed before. Under the hotel charges, there was a note attached. Guest name changed at check-in.